What's up, everyone? Chrissy Andel here for Channelfireball.com, and welcome to another edition of Audio Articles, where we bring you articles written by the top Magic the Gathering pros in audio form Monday through Friday, so you can listen on the go wherever and whenever you want for free. We've also got a lot of really great content on YouTube, so head on over to YouTube, search for Channel Fireball, and ring the bell next to the subscribe button. And if you're trying to make it easier to listen to the podcast, if you have an iPhone, ask Siri to play the most recent episode of Channel Fireball's podcast, and you're all set. We're also on Spotify and iTunes. Today's episode was written by Andrea Mengucci. Andrea is going to talk about some of the things that you need to do if you want to be successful at the Pro Tour. Thanks for being with us today, and here is How to Win at a Pro Tour in the Modern Era. Don't Try to Break the Format by Andrea Mengucci. First things first, the Pro Tour is an incredibly difficult tournament in which the best players in the world compete. But it's not a given that you'll play against pros, especially in the first stage of the event. It's easy to expect the worst when you do, but don't let yourself start thinking that you'll play poorly against them. Don't set small expectations. Think big. In Magic, if you prepare well enough, you can win against anyone. Pro Tours feature two formats these days, limited and constructed. One is much more important than the other, and contrary to what most may believe, it's draft. Step 1. Draft, draft, draft. Modern day Magic is all about constructed. We test draft and sealed very little, and you rarely see those kinds of events. But at the Pro Tour, draft is the most important portion. You can always net deck an 8-0 list from the mocks, read a bunch of articles, and have 80% of the knowledge that any pro has about standard, but you'll never reach that, not even half, if you don't put effort into draft. Magic Online works perfectly. You don't need a team full of pros to prepare well for draft. The pod that you'll face at the Pro Tour, especially in day one, will be about the same level as the competitive leagues on Magic Online. I heard Team Genesis complain about their preparation online, and that they felt they needed to gather 1 week prior to the event to better prepare. I feel that that kind of testing would be good for the World Championship, but skewed for the Pro Tour. I've been a member of Team MTG Mint Card for 2 years now, and recently we started gathering data for every draft we do on Magic Online to give ourselves an idea of the archetype that wins the most. Prior to the Pro Tour, I did about 32 online drafts, and I went 0-1 in 16 of them, and trophied just 4, for a 50.88% win percentage, the most among my team. I learned my lesson. I learned what colors I hated and which colors I loved. I saw which archetypes were usually open and which ones weren't. I learned more from my losses than from my wins. I lost a lot, but continued playing until I found the strategy I wanted to draft at the Pro Tour. I ended up going 5-1 at the Pro Tour, which follows up a 6-0 performance at Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan, putting me in second place for Limited Master, an accomplishment of which I am particularly proud. It's not one that I ever would have dreamed to reach for, considering how badly I used to do in the limited portion. Why am I suddenly doing well in the limited portion of the Pro Tour? It's because I'm putting way more effort into it than my opponents are, and it's paying off. If you play 32 leagues of constructed, you won't know too much more than a person who takes Corey Baumeister's 75 from the mocks monthly 1 week before the event. You'll probably be 55 to 45. I think I played 2 standard leagues overall and felt great about my deck choice. Draft is where you gain an edge at the Pro Tour, not constructed. Draft a lot. Yeah, it's expensive, but success comes at a price. And once you understand what you're comfortable with, draft your way. Be the one to give direction to the draft, and don't let others throw you. I find that my team and I draft much differently than most pros. Don't focus too much on reading signals. Be the one giving signals to the player next to you. Of course, if you see 0 blue cards, even if you picked Imbol's Clutch's first pick, then you have to jump ship. But you don't have to play green just because they passed you Song of Freyalise. You can pass that signal and exploit it during the second pack. For example, I despise green in Dominaria. I realized that after about my 25th draft by looking at my win rate. I just wasn't doing well with green, and I was doing great with Esper colors. So what did I do during my first draft at the Pro Tour? I passed all of those Llanowar Elves and Song of Freyalise, I picked every Aven Sentry, and I flew to a 3-0. Unlike constructed, you can't just absorb information about limited. You have to play the games yourself and see what you like. Bomat Courier and Teferi Hero of Dominaria are played in just one way, whereas in draft, you decide your own destiny. Step 2. Constructed. Stop breaking the format. Once upon a time, the internet wasn't popular, and the last set on Magic Online came out 4 days before the Pro Tour. MTG Goldfish didn't exist, and the Pro Tour occurred 2 weeks after release. In those days, you could have success at the Pro Tour by breaking the format. Wizards is doing everything they can to make it so that everyone can do well at the Pro Tour. Pro teams don't matter anymore. We have perfect information, and the last time that I saw a team's deck and said, wow, they broke it, was Team Genesis when they played Marvel with Chandra Flamecaller at Pro Tour Amonkhet. Now the Pro Tour is months after the set releases, and you have thousands of successful Magic Online lists, and even ones from the GPs. Testing Constructed is basically irrelevant. Brad Nelson and Corey Baumeister, the best Standard players in the world, played the same decks they played weeks before in the other events, won with them, and wrote about them. What do you even want to do that's better than them? My last decks at Pro Tours have always been Tier 1 decks with a target on their backs. Red-Black Midrange, Humans, Temur Energy, Zombies, Mardu, and Bant Company. And I've always done great. The only time in the last 2 years where I completely scrubbed out and constructed was when I brewed my own Jeskai Control deck at Pro Tour Kaladesh. Instead of playing Mardu Vehicles or Blue-White Flash, I chose to beat those decks. I went 2-1 in draft and 0-4 in constructed. Wizards, by putting a Pro Tour a month after a release and having new sets on Magic Online weeks before the Pro Tour, is putting less focus on Standard. Whoever tries to break the format these days fails miserably. Take that into account. Speaking of new sets, I don't know if you guys have seen any of the previews from the new Core Set 2019, but the set looks pretty sweet. You can pre-order boxes on Channelfireball now, and they're going to be available on Friday, July 13th. Use the time that you dedicate to Magic and devote 95% of it to drafting and 5% to watching streams of Standard. A few days before the Pro Tour, when you've locked into a solid deck choice, like Red-Black Aggro or Blue-White Control from this past Pro Tour, start playing Constructed on Magic Online or against a teammate. Write down a sideboard plan after carefully taking into consideration what writers and streamers say about it, and you're good to go. Here's the cliff notes. Draft, net deck, don't be afraid, and you'll crush the Pro Tour. That does it for this episode of Audio Articles. Make sure to head over to channelfireball.com and leave Andrea a comment about what you thought about today's article, or you can hit him up on Twitter at Mengu09. Also, make sure to check out cfbevents.com. You'll find all the information about the upcoming GPs there. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for being with us today, and I hope to see you soon. And until then, peace.